Lowdown Mortgage Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone who embodies what it means to be a relationship-driven, discipline-focused mortgage professional, a community leader, a daily content creator with a no-excuses business owner mentality who shows up for our clients and partners with energy, clarity, and care. From building consistent lead gen systems to scaling her personal touch with the right team and automation, she's all about impact, discipline, and genuine connection. Shelley Kennagh, welcome to the Lowdown.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you for having me today.
Oh, it is a pleasure having you, Shelley. I'm excited to dive into this. I know you're going to bring a ton of value to this audience, so I just want to jump right into the good stuff, okay? As we were kind of prepping for this podcast, you really described yourself more as a business owner than a loan officer, which is a really interesting mentality. And so I wanted to go into that. What shaped that identity for you, and how does that influence the way you show up every day?
For the longest time, I thought growth meant doing more loans, hustling more, working more hours. And when I really broke it down, what it looked like is becoming more. So how would I become more? It wasn't necessarily about all those things. To become more, I discovered that I really needed to grow a team that was showing up for me each day. They were there with me, staying in their own lane. Everybody's strong at something, and for me, it's not necessarily all the paperwork. So I needed people on my team who were great at that, and I could focus on what I was great at. It wasn't necessarily, working until 9:00 at night. And, we have families, and I want to be there for my family too. So to really create a high impact team, I said, I can't think of this like I'm a loan officer. This is my business, and I need to grow my business. So I found some great people who are now on my team, and I'm continuing to grow my team. And that really is what has changed it. And, if you think like a loan officer, you're not really thinking about it as a business. So it's been a win-win so far.
Yeah, I love that answer. I think when you graduate from that, like, loan officer to business owner mentality, it does really change a lot. We see that a lot as a common theme on this podcast, where the originator really says, you know what, I'm going to take this next level. And I'm going to skip ahead to another question that I had, because it really, when we first started talking, it excited me because you seem like you were at the intersection of growth and scale, right? Yeah. And really kind of making that decision to go beyond just like the 10 or 20% growth year over year, and saying, you know what, I'm going to make this decision to go big or go home, right?
For sure.
And so you have this no excuses mentality and followed like a disciplined schedule where you were doing, the Realtor Mondays, pre-approval Tuesdays, kind of this win by noon idea.
Yeah. For sure.
Where did that discipline come from, and how does it really keep you just moving forward?
So really, it's leading with intention each day, deciding that I want to show up differently. Motivation is so important, and anybody in sales, right? You got to be motivated, but motivation leaves you at times. So discipline is a must. So I decided to each day start my day with intent. What is it that I'm doing today? How am I showing up today? Each day is different, Monday through Friday. A lot of it's calls. You have to make calls. You have to be visible. I say show up a lot because it's huge in our business. We have to show up for our people, whether it be pop by, say, hey, how are you? Or making that phone call to say, I'm still here. How can I help you? Not like, what do you have for me? But how can I help you? We're all here to grow our businesses, right? If we can help each other, it's so impactful. So intention, and discipline. I mean, it's just huge.
Yeah.
It all kind of goes together.
I love that. And so can you explain, just for the listener, what the win by noon mentality is and how that's helped you just sort of structure your day and what you're doing after noon?
For sure. So the way that my days look, I start my days with gratitude. Number one, what am I grateful for today? Because I feel like, any other way, you kind of can go down the rabbit hole, right? Each of our days in sales, there's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of chaos that comes into our days, but it's how can we really focus on what's important? And when you bring in gratitude and you focus on what you're thankful for, I have found that more comes your way throughout the day. And also power words, like, what do I want to focus on today? Is it being grounded? Mindset is huge, and I do put a lot of time and energy into my mindset. They say you are the top 5 people you surround yourself with. So I start my days not only with gratitude and, power words, but it's listening to the greats, Rob Dial, the mindset mentor, Darren Hardy, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins. They're all so powerful. And, it puts the good things in your head that you need. You got to start that way. So, yeah, and win by noon, again, starting each day with intention. Each of my days are about phone calls. Like, I'm doing a daily video and I'm doing phone calls. So Mondays, I'm reaching out to real estate agents to say, hey, how are you? What can I do to help you? Tuesdays, reaching out on pre-approvals. Is there anything I can be doing for you? Where are you at? Have you looked at any properties you need help with? Wednesdays, it's reaching out to buyers agents, listing brokers, buyers who are under contract to say, this is where we're at. Thursdays, past clients, and Fridays, videos. Hey, thank you. Thank you for the referral this week.
Yeah, I love that. I even remember, I think the very first time I called you, you were like, hey, I'm in the middle of my call time. Can you call me another time?
Between like 9:30 and noon. I want those done because that's the most important, right?
Yeah.
You need to be moving, the needle here.
Yeah, well, I love the discipline though. It's so easy to get distracted and, go, I'm not really enjoying what I'm doing here, so I'll take that call and maybe, and kind of make the excuse that, oh, it was important. But just the discipline of staying locked into that task for that amount of time every day. A lot of loan officers really struggle with that because there's a lot of other things that you could be doing and distracting yourself with. But kind of back to what you started with, if you build the right teams and have that structure around you, now you can stay focused into those things. So has that been sort of a game changer for you to build that team around you, and have they been able to kind of take away those distractions?
Absolutely. Huge game changer. One thing I will mention though, and I think this is important for us loan officers out there, is you have to answer your phone. When people call me, they want to hear from me. And that's one thing my realtors always say, you always answer your phone. Thank you for answering your phone. And even if I'm during my call hour, and Connor, you can attest to this, I answered your call. I'm going to answer your call. I'm going to say, hey, Connor, thank you so much for calling me. I'm actually with somebody right now, but I'm going to give you a call back. I always try to answer my phone unless I'm like walking into an appointment and my phone's hidden, right? If I answer it from my watch, it's just a mess. But I always want people to know I care.
Yeah.
And it's simple. Yeah. Answer your phone.
Amazing.
But yes, there's a lot that comes from the phone calls. There's a lot that comes from the activities that I'm doing. And I have, like I said, an amazing team, and they're all staying in their lane. When I have a buyer who's interested in something, I reach out to my team. This is what we want to work on. They work on it. We talk about it. I call the buyer back. I call the client back who, maybe homeowner who wants to refinance. It's still me who's speaking with them, but I have a team who's helping me. If I was doing all of that, I would be working around the clock, and I do need to sleep. So.
Yeah. And so you've invested in like coaching, and you're connecting with, $100 million producers and trying to learn from them. I guess, what have you kind of learned about the mindset and habits that have been required of them to grow, and what you'll need to do to kind of reach those levels?
Yeah. Growth, you don't grow by accident. It's a choice. I feel like, and a lot of people say to me, can you talk to my group? What have you done? What changes have you made? And I always say, you have to be ready for it, and you have to be willing to make a change, and that is going to be your choice. It's nothing that you just fall upon. So when you actually decide, it's time, and you have that growth mindset, and you start your day with intention, you're deliberate about what you're doing, you're showing up, you're staying disciplined. Your business is not going to grow by doing the same things. It's just not. So hiring a coach, I hired Cindy Ertman. She is amazing. The Defining Difference, she really kind of lays out like, this is what you need to do. These are the changes you need to make. You need to be consistent. And I know, you and I had talked about this, Connor, when I speak with people and they're like, well, I want to do that. I really want to do that, but I'm just not doing it yet. That's something I struggle with because I have made a deliberate choice to make changes. I'm being consistent with them, and I do show up every day, and I do the things that maybe I don't want to do. They're not easy. And sometimes it's like, oh my gosh. But once I do it, It's like, oh my gosh, I'm keeping promises to myself. And there's
Mhm.
just so much power in that. When you keep the promises, when you show up like you said you were going to, it honestly builds so much self-confidence when you're like, wow, I'm just doing those things that I told myself I would do. I don't feel like it today, but I'm going to do it anyway. And at the end of the day, you're like, I
Yeah.
got 40 buyers as a result. It's not that difficult. You just have to do it and you have to be consistent and
Yeah.
intentional.
It's amazing what you can accomplish in that. And I'll just make a quick note on what you said because I can remember days where maybe I coasted a little bit.
Yeah, me
And
too.
at the end of the day, I remember just feeling like there was a guilt that came along with that. Like, man, and then when you kind of flip that switch and you make the decision, growth is a choice. I love
Yeah.
that. But when you make that decision, you make that choice, you don't end the days with that guilt anymore, right? Like you can feel guilt free every day knowing that you did the things, even though you didn't want to do them. It's done, checked it off, and it's not waiting for you tomorrow. You can move on to other things. So I love that. Now, you said you show up every day, and a part of showing up is delivering value to your agents and working with the referral partners that you're helping people, that are helping you with your business. You're helping them with their business. So
Yeah.
when an agent works with you,
Yeah.
what do you hope they say afterward? And what do you think agents choose most when they choose you over another lender?
Yeah. I want them to say that I made their life easier. I feel like, the process, it can be a lot, there's a lot of communication that needs to take place. And I will tell you, when a realtor reaches out to me and asks me for an update, I'm instantly going, oh my gosh, I didn't do my job. Because I have a plan in place where I want to reach out to them first and say, hey, here's where we are, both the buyer's agent and the listing broker. But sometimes they might not see the message or they might not listen to the voicemail. So they ask me, and I'm thinking, but no, communication is huge. They want to know what's happening. They want to know they're okay. The process can be very overwhelming. So again, I want them to know that I'm here to communicate very well with their clients and with them. And I want them all to know where we're at in the process and that I made their life easier. And I hear this all the time, oh, my buyer, they're working with this lender. They've worked with them before. They're online. I don't know them. I don't want them to do what I want them to come to you, but they're saying they're not going to. And they really can't say, work with Shelley, work with her. But, they do say it. You made my
Yeah.
life so easy. I trust you. When you say it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I tell them what's going on. I tell my clients that we're a team. They need to know where you're at. They need to know where I'm at. We all need to communicate. So, yeah.
What part of the process do you feel causes the most like anxiety for the agent? And what do you do to help with that?
A lack of communication, not sharing where we're at. If you have a buyer who's changed their mind on where they're getting their down payment, have the conversations with the buyer about, okay, like, is this safe? And if it's not, letting the broker know this is what they're saying that they're going to do. This is, the issues that I see coming from this, or like any changes that are made, everybody needs to be made aware so that there's no surprises. Nobody wants surprises.
Yeah. And I know you're very like relational and it seems like you want to do this all you, right? Not pass it off to a member of the team or things like that, that's a lot of heavy lifting, but where do you find the value in that? I mean, has that been something that you find has kind of returned tenfold to you because you keep showing up? I mean, it seems to
For
be a real
sure.
consistent theme.
For sure. So when it comes to the paperwork piece from contract to close, I have a wonderful team who can do that. But
Mhm.
anytime something gets iffy, it's back on me. I want to be the one to have the hard conversations. I do not want that to be my team who's having those hard conversations. And buyers appreciate that, and realtors appreciate that. And I do find if it is my team hopping in to ever have a hard conversation when I'm on a vacation or something, they want to hear it from me. They
Yeah.
want me to be part of it. So and I always say stay in your own lane when it comes to my processor, to my assistant, to my production assistant, any of them, but they do. We have pipeline meetings every week and they always pull me back in. Hey, this is what we can see that could come up. And I go right away and have those conversations that, hey, let's
Yeah.
get ahead of this right out of the gate. We don't
Love
want
that.
this to be an issue down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're on top of your business, you're
Mhm.
anticipating potential problems, you're communicating those with anyone who needs to hear about it and
For
just
sure.
getting ahead of it. And I think that's something that I hear come up a lot on these podcasts as well is that tough conversations need to be had early and often. And what do you find is typically the outcome of that? I mean, does it build trust, or what are some of the things that you find kind of come out of those early difficult conversations?
It builds trust. And I'm not afraid to say to a realtor who refers me a buyer, if they're not ready, look, we got some work to do here. This is what I see. You know, clear communication is huge, but if the buyer is not ready, it doesn't behoove any of us to plop them into a product and fight, for the next 6 weeks on something that really shouldn't have happened from day one. So, and one thing I have learned is my operations team, they really trust me because they know that, look, if this does not make sense, and I always say, I do think like an underwriter, my whole team does. Really, we're protecting our buyer, and we're protecting our investor, and we're protecting our client. What is it that needs to wait? And then having those hard conversations. This is why I think you need to wait. This is what I'm suggesting you're doing. What you do, put a plan in place and help them through the process, but not forcing something to work right now that really shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
So.
And over the years, you've helped hundreds, if not maybe thousands of people into homes. Is there a borrower story that has really stuck with you?
There really is. I had this one buyer who came to me right before the holidays, and had said, I'm not going to be an easy case. I want to talk to you. I've been living at this house. I've been doing a for sale by owner. I have no credit. If I don't buy this house though by this date, then I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose all the equity I built. Can you help? And I took a look at it and I said, do you have non-traditional credit? I mean, this was a buyer who had no credit. Do you have non-traditional credit? What does your income look like? And we kind of, reversed it all and said, okay, this is where you're at. This is what your income looks like. This is what you could afford. And I reached out to my team and they were like, what? You're going to do what? Because it was a bit of a challenge, but I said, this is how we're going to do it. And yes, it does work. And I reached out to the buyer and told her specifically what needed to happen. She followed, she did what I said. My team more than once was like, are you for sure that we're going to get this done in less than 25 days? And we did. And I'll tell you, she didn't believe it could happen, but she knew if it didn't happen, she was going to lose like hundreds of thousands of dollars, okay, in equity that she had built. And there were things written in the contract that if she didn't get it done, she would have lost out. She had to a certain date to get it done, and we did it. And she has given us so many referrals. She shares each year the reflections she has while she's sitting in her home thinking about, like, what if you didn't do this for me? And she's not the only one that my team and I have helped like that. So many families. And I think this time of year, at the end of the year, with the holidays, you think of all the families that you've helped get into their homes, throughout the years. And, I just talked to one on Sunday yesterday, who was trying to figure out her first payment. And she said that to me, oh, we love our house. And if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. We have a new home for the holidays. And, my team and I have helped just shy of 200 families this year get into homes. And I mean, we're so proud of that. So, and it feels good. It feels good.
What does home ownership mean to you?
Home ownership. I mean, it's the American dream, right? I mean, it's the greatest investment you'll ever make. You can invest your money out there and there's some great things you can invest your money in, but real estate appreciates over time. And to have a home, I truly feel everybody deserves a home to call their own. When you're renting, you're paying somebody else's mortgage. You deserve to have your own home. Not everybody believes it's possible. It is possible. You putting the right plan in place, you can make it happen. We can help you make it happen. Building your own future, building your own equity. So it's a great investment, and like I said, everybody deserves a home to call their own.
So let's fast forward 5 years. What does winning look like for you in the business, in life, and what kind of impact do you hope to have on your clients, referral partners, and the community?
Yeah. I'm going to have a sustainable business. Our business is thriving. We are actually in the process right now of hiring another loan partner, loan assistant for myself, which I'm very excited about.
Congratulations.
And I definitely see me having more time on my hands, being at peace with where we're at, because this new partner I'm bringing in is super strong. He's been in the business longer than me. And worked for, originators who do a lot more than me. So I know he's capable. But, the impact, it's just leaving people better off, right? Leaving people better off than when they started. not everybody believes, like I said, that they can make it happen, but proving to them that yes, you can. And it's always exciting to me when, I talk to buyers who are like, I don't have great credit, I don't have any savings, and I put a plan in place and they listen and they come back. Even, I've had some recently who I talked to 3 or 4 years ago and they're coming back and they're great buyers. They have great credit and they're making it happen. There is nothing that feels better than that. So, yeah.
That's amazing. So as you are looking towards the future, are you leaning into any kind of technology? Like, what are you keeping your eyes on from a tech standpoint or a skill standpoint? What's going to be important for a loan officer to really be prepared for to stay relevant and grow in the future?
Yeah. So, we still have to be here. We still have to be visible. There are going to be tools that we need to use. I don't think AI will ever replace us, but those that aren't using artificial intelligence or technology, are going to be replaced because everything takes so long, right? So you figure chat is always so powerful and helpful to be using that. Claude has a great system. I love using that to kind of recap, borrower calls or presentations that I've listened to, but really don't see anything that I'm using, that's going to replace me showing up with discipline each day and continuing to be visible, making my phone calls, making my daily videos. And it's crazy, the videos, I do the videos, there's not a ton of engagement, but I'll tell you, when I'm out there, oh my gosh, I see your videos. I love that you show up every day. I love your content. I love what you share. People see it, whether they like it, whether they comment, it doesn't matter. They're seeing it. So I'm going to continue to do that. Hey, listen to me for a minute a day. I'll give you a great tip on mortgages or what you need to do to become a homeowner. So yeah.
Yeah. The shadow audience, as they call it on social
Yeah,
media, it's a fascinating thing
it
because
really is. And my kids
you
are like, you
never
need more
know who's really
engagement.
watching.
Wow.
Yeah,
People are
it's
still
like,
seeing it.
your mom and dad or your spouse, they're your biggest fans on social media, right? But then there's all these like people that are watching and you have no idea. But then you get out into the world and it's, wow, I saw that video. Thank you so much. Or, one day you'll get that random DM from someone who said, I saw your video about this and that's me. Like, that's the exact situation I'm in. I need your help. It's crazy.
It
So,
happens a lot. The grocery store, I actually had somebody, I don't really know how to use TikTok, but I put my videos out there. He's like, I saw you on TikTok. I'm like, what? Buying a house.
yeah, it's
So
wild.
yeah.
Well, as we kind of wrap up here, Shelley, is there any advice that you would give a loan officer who feels maybe stuck? They're trying to grow, but they haven't quite figured out that first step towards it.
For sure. I think if you want it, talk to somebody who's a coach, ask them, hey, this is where I am. And again, I can't recommend Cindy Ertman enough in The Defining Difference. She did a fantastic job, but you have to want it and you have to show up. You have to be disciplined. It's not going to happen. It doesn't happen by accident. You're going to make it happen. But again, videos are huge, being out there, being visible. And again, show up. I guess that's the biggest word of the day. Just show up every single day, just as much for yourself as you do for your clients. Because if
Yeah.
you prove to yourself that you can do it and you actually start doing it, like success, it follows.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's simple but not easy advice. The showing up, the consistency, the discipline. But I'm right there with you. I think
yeah,
that's a great bit of advice for anybody who's listening. And Shelley, I just want to thank you for
yeah,
being on the lowdown, sharing your story, and just being a part of this community, because I think it's great
good.
for other loan officers to hear what loan officers like you are doing to work in their business and figure out how to grow. So I appreciate you.
Another thing is calling it out, right? If it's going to be your year, call it out. Don't be afraid to say what you're going to do. I said I was going to close 50 million this year. We're almost at 60. And next year, we're going to be at least 75 million. So
Love
calling it
that.
out, going to make it
Call it
happen.
out. I'm gonna expand on that real quick
Yeah,
because I love that. And I
yeah,
think when others know what your goals are, not only does it hold you accountable to them and them knowing, but it
yeah,
also, you find out the people who really want to help you achieve those goals.
for
And I think a
sure.
lot of people really want to be that person. They want to help, but not everybody knows what the other person wants. And so when you can make that like declaration and be very specific about your goals and how you would need to get there, others will see it and go, I can pitch in. I want to help Shelley. I want to help that person. So I think that's great advice, because so many of us are too afraid to put the big goal out there because they're worried it'll look like if we don't achieve it, well, we look like a big failure, right? Well,
But you will achieve it. I firmly believe you will achieve it if you believe that you will achieve it. You take the steps to make it happen. Like, it's not just going to happen. You got to make it happen. So if you need to talk to a coach, I mean, I took a huge leap in the spring. I was like, this is my year. My kids are getting older. I'm like, this is my year. They still need me. My family still needs me, but not like they once did. I'm not carting them around everywhere. They're carting themselves around. So I was like, I can do more. I want to do more. So I just got excited and I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to invest in myself, pay for the coach, take the advice, and do the things. Do all the little things, because they add up. And you're right, putting it out there, it's almost like a vision board, right? You're writing it down. You're like, this is my goal. But it's not even just my goal. This is what I'm going to achieve. Yeah. And telling people I want to help, 240 families in 2026, which will equate to 75 million at least. Just do it. And if you take the steps, you're not going to fail. You will not.
Love it. Love it. Well, Shelley, thank you again for being on. And I wish you nothing but the best in the future. I'll keep my eye on you.
Thank you, Connor. Thank you all. Make it a great day.